Welcome to Beyond the Clinic, the podcast for health professionals ready to transform their expertise into innovative income streams that extend beyond the traditional clinic model. I'm Almond Bushell. I'm a registered dietitian and certified business coach and proud owner of 2 successful online businesses. I understand the leap from the security of a regular salary can feel intimidating because I've been there too. But it doesn't have to be scary, and you do not have to do this alone. Here you'll learn tangible strategies to accelerate your business growth. So if you're dreaming of using your expertise to create impact and a life of freedom, then you're in the right place. Welcome to episode number 48, the smartest question I've ever been asked by a prospective client. I was recently asked a question that I wish more people would ask before hiring a business mentor. It's a question that could save you from working with the wrong coach, from wasting time and money, and feeling a bit stuck with outdated advice. That question was, "Hey Sarah, what do you do for CPD?" A question that I think was actually one of the smartest and most important questions that a potential client can ask. At the time of recording this episode, it's mid-March. I've recently delivered 4 live training sessions to my audience free of charge. I did a 3-day marketing and sales bootcamp, followed by a masterclass all about using social media strategically for business in order to get more clients. And as part of that training, I discussed how people could work with me and what that looked like. Now, anyone considering working with a mentor wants to know, are they the right person to truly help them? Are they qualified? What sort of results do they typically get for their clients? And that's when the question of my CPD came up, and I love it. Before you hire a business mentor, ask this: what do you do for CPD? This question alone could save you from working with a coach who's relying on outdated strategies, because business doesn't stand still. So why should your coach? It's so easy to get caught up in flashy marketing, being taken in by social media hype of clients hitting 10K months, coaches retiring their husbands, or testimonials that sound so impressive you wonder why the coach hasn't just retired on all of their millions. But personally, I believe that a mentor or a coach's effectiveness isn't based on what they did years ago when business was frankly a lot easier. It's based on what they are actively learning and applying today. Someone who's continuously growing, evolving, and staying ahead of the curve. So that question, Sarah, what do you do to keep up to date in the business world? That meant a lot. Now, if you're a healthcare professional listening to this, as I imagine you're already well used to CPD, it's a requirement of our registration to show that we are maintaining our skills, to evidence our lifelong learning. But when it comes to business, you know what? There are no rules. There's no mandatory requirements. There's no set number of CPD hours, and that's where a lot of people get stuck. Partly it's because, first and foremost, we're clinicians. So any free time or spare money we have to invest in CPD is likely to go into something that we're passionate about, our clinical interest. And of course, it's also a requirement of our registration, so it's much easier to spend. And business courses or marketing masterclasses, often they're less interesting and less appealing to most healthcare professionals. But more often than not, people who get stuck in business is because their business is moving fast, and what worked last year might not actually work today. 5 years ago, if you think about it, social media meant posting photos or updating your status just consistently. 3 years ago, it was all about stories and lives, and now short form video dominates. And the algorithms prioritize engagement more than follower count. And the businesses that keep up with these really fast-paced shifts, those are the ones that grow. Those are the ones that don't stall. And if you're trying to grow a business without investing in your own learning of these changes, It can feel like you're running on a treadmill. You're putting in so much effort, but you're not actually getting anywhere. What worked on social media last year might not be working today. Algorithms shift, audience behavior changes, buyer psychology evolves. If you're still relying on what worked a few years ago, you might already be behind. The key to growth? It's CPD that keeps you ahead of the curve. And so in this episode, I'm going to share exactly what I do for CPD as a business coach and as a mentor, and why I prioritize lifelong learning and how you can start thinking differently about your own development. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by the sheer amount of business advice out there, or a little bit unsure about what you should be learning in order to move your business forwards, then this episode really is for you. So let's start by talking about something that we don't often admit. Most health business owners know that learning about the business side of things is important, but it's the first thing that gets pushed aside. You might have told yourself things like, I need to learn more about email marketing or social media or whatever it is, but I don't have the time. I keep meaning to do more business-focused professional development, but actually clients always come first. Or there's so many courses, there's so many resources out there. How do I actually know what's worth my time and my money? But first of all, let's dig into what happens when you don't actually prioritize this kind of learning. First of all, as I've alluded to, you struggle to keep up with industry changes. Business moves really fast, far more than healthcare does. Things like social media algorithms change, marketing strategies evolve, client expectations change, buyer psychology shifts. And if you're still relying on what worked 2 or 3 or 4 years ago, you might have already noticed that your marketing isn't as effective as it was back then. Maybe you've noticed that your content isn't getting as much engagement as before. Your posts are reaching hundreds rather than thousands. Those strategies that worked in the past, like SEO, for example, and Google, they're just not bringing in as many client inquiries now. And you see others who still seem to be flourishing, and you're wondering, how are they staying ahead while I feel like I'm playing catch up? When you don't prioritize business CPD, you'll likely hit a bit of a plateau in your business growth. When you start your business, it's all about working things out as you go. But at some point, you do reach a bit of a ceiling. You're working hard, you're doing everything you know how to do, but growth stalls. Maybe it's your income that you've seen has stayed stagnant, stayed the same for months and months and months on end. And that might be despite you doing 5 a.m. starts, making these huge efforts. Maybe you're doing everything you feel you should, and you're doing it with utmost total consistency, but you're still not seeing the results that you hoped for or that you used to get. You might be thinking, what's the next step? But you're not really quite sure where to focus. I see this all the time. Business owners working harder than ever, but their growth has completely plateaued. Why? Because they've hit a ceiling. You don't break through a plateau by doing more of the same. You break through by learning what to do differently. And that's where your business CPD needs to come in. And this is why when many business owners either burn themselves out by trying lots of new strategies and ending up overwhelmed and exhausted, tend to give up because they think that working harder is the answer when really they just need to be smarter and upgrade themselves and their development. And when you don't prioritize your business CPD, you can end up wasting time and money on the wrong CPD because not all learning is created equal. Have you ever bought a course only to realize that actually it isn't really relevant to you in your stage in business? I have. When I first bought Amy Porterfield's Digital Course Academy almost 10 years ago now, I had no audience to sell to. And so actually there was little point in me creating a course back then. Maybe you've signed up for free webinars but never actually implemented anything. I see this often actually with my colleagues who perhaps aren't truly serious about growing their private practices, they consume a vast amount of information, but they don't do anything with it. And often it's actually a mindset issue for them. Or perhaps you're someone who's spent hours consuming loads of free content on Instagram, on YouTube, you've binge listened to podcasts, and you only now feel more confused than you did when you started. So without a clear CPD plan, it's really easy to end up feeling in learning overload, essentially, because you're constantly absorbing information, but you're not actually spending the time to apply it effectively. And because we love learning as healthcare professionals, it's one of our core values often, we don't often stop learning. Not all business learning is useful. I see so many people buying courses that they're just not ready for. They're signing up for free trainings that they never implement, or they get stuck in content overload without direction. The right CPD isn't about learning everything. It's about learning what moves your business forward for your particular season of business. If you don't take the time to work on your business, and not just in your business won't grow. I get it. Client work always comes first, and business learning often takes a backseat. But investing time in the right CPD now will save you hours of wasted effort later. The time spent learning effective business strategies pays for itself, firstly in the growth of your business, but also in ease, because you'll stop procrastinating, you'll stop second guessing or feeling overwhelmed, and with that comes confidence. Because honestly, business CPD isn't a nice to have. It's the difference between staying where you are and stepping up to that next level. Okay, so now you might be wondering, how do I keep up when I've already got so much stuff on my plate? And that's where actually working with a coach who prioritizes CPD themselves can make the difference. It's an unregulated industry, business coaching. There's no formal requirement for coaches to stay updated. And that means a lot of people are giving advice based on what worked for them in their businesses, or even what worked in the past, years ago. But as I've said already, business doesn't stand still, and neither should their learning. If I was taking my daughter to see a clinician, I'd want someone who's up to date with the latest research and not someone using techniques from 10 years ago. And I hold my own work to that same standard, and that's why I take my CPD really seriously, not just for my clients, but for myself as well. I don't just teach what I learned years ago. I continuously study, I refine, I implement, I test new strategies to make sure that I'm delivering the best possible support that I can for my clients. And it really helps, actually, that I still have a clinical practice myself, the children's nutritionist, because that's where I can use that business to do the testing and the refining, find out what's working nowadays and actually what's not. So I digress, but back to that question that I was asked, Sarah, what do you do for CPD? I'm going to take you a little bit behind the scenes now and share exactly what I do for CPD on an ongoing basis, as well as what I'm working on this year. So there's 6 things that I'm doing for CPD this year. Number 1, I'm doing a mindset course and certification. This year, I've decided that I want to dive more deeply into mindset coaching with a structured CPD certification program. I've worked on mindset stuff before, but the reason why I want to do this now is because mindset is everything in business. It determines things like how we handle our setbacks, whether we take action or don't, and ultimately, it has a massive impact on whether we succeed. So this certification isn't just about understanding the theory of mindset. It was important to me to find a quality provider who could give me the support in applying it practically with real clients. So the program covers the science behind mindset. It covers neuroplasticity and subconscious reprogramming, helping me better support my clients in breaking through limiting beliefs and recognizing self-sabotaging behaviors. It also includes a really strong focus on different coaching techniques. So there's absolutely everything in there, from visualization to hypnotherapy and reframing negative thought patterns. But what I love about this course is that it isn't just theoretical. It actually requires me to do a number of hands-on coaching hours, and some of you are my current clients. There's formal assessments, there's case study assignments, and it's really all to ensure that I truly master these skills. So, why does this matter to you? If you've ever felt stuck in self-doubt, in imposter syndrome, or fear of failure, or lack of confidence, or procrastination, or overwhelm, these are exactly the tools that can help. And as a business coach and mentor, I want to make sure that I'm able to support my clients to the best of my abilities, offering proven techniques backed by psychology and not just repeating motivational quotes. The second thing that I'm working on at the moment is a social media course and certification. So another massive focus for me this year is my ongoing social media education. Now, as you likely know, I am not a massive fan of social media personally, and I know I've referred to it a couple of times already in this episode. And that's because I do love what it can do for my business. Social media has completely changed the way businesses attract clients. It's no longer just about having a presence. It's about understanding how to use these platforms strategically to build an audience, to nurture relationships, and to convert our followers into paying clients. But if you've been using social media in your business for a while, you'll know that it's constantly evolving, and what worked 2 years ago won't necessarily work today. And the strategies that are driving results right now are going to shift again in the coming months. Platforms update their algorithms, audience behavior changes, and new features are introduced all of the time. And so if you're not actively keeping up, it's actually really easy to fall behind. Because social media is so powerful for my business, I've chosen not just to use it in my business, but also to study it. So social success isn't about luck. It isn't about simply posting more often or consistently. It's about understanding the mechanics behind how the platforms operate and using that knowledge to your advantage. So my CPD courses, and I'm doing several of them, are really deepening my expertise in several really critical areas, actually. So one is all about mastering the algorithm, because many business owners treat social media a bit like a mystery. But you know what? There is a clear science behind what gets you reach, what encourages engagement, what makes you more visible. So instead of guessing, I'm just learning exactly how these algorithms prioritize content and how to work with these systems in order to maximize our exposure. I'm also learning more about building a content strategy that converts into clients. So posting randomly doesn't build a business. I'm all about a strategic content planning approach. Strategy is just the thing that I do. It's the thing that I really love. So I'm mapping out a strategic journey where social media actually moves potential clients from, first of all, discovery right through engagement and towards becoming a paying customer. I'm also learning more around the psychology behind sales and the psychology behind engagement, actually. So why do people stop scrolling? What makes content persuasive? This training, it's really helping me break down the sort of behavioral and psychological triggers that drive action online. And this is all so I can help my clients create content that doesn't just get seen, but it actually builds trust, it gets engagement, and it leads ultimately to sales. I'm also learning about the different content formats, and really it's about using them to their full potential. So things like the short form videos that are really popular now, stories, carousel posts, static posts, because each format actually serves a different purpose. And what I'm learning is how to leverage each content type strategically so that it works part of a bigger system rather than just tracing trends for the sake of it, because everyone says you need to do finger pointy dances on reels at the moment. No. It needs to be more strategic than that. And I also want to learn more about how we can take social media and turn it into a long-term business asset. So rather than relying on going viral in a moment or being at the mercy of an algorithm, it's all about focusing a social media presence, building that presence that stands the test of time, essentially. So that means creating content systems that generate leads consistently, predictably, positioning you and your social media as a sustainable, organic client attraction tool rather than just being an unpredictable marketing task that we do and who knows whether it's going to work for us. Why this matters. So I think one of the things I've noticed is the difference between those who thrive on social media and those who struggle with social media isn't just the quality of their content. It's about how they're strategically using social media. And I find that if you understand the why behind things like algorithm changes, you can adjust, you can stay visible, it makes sense. And if you don't, then your engagement drops, your frustration builds, the opportunities are missed, you get fed up, and before you know it, you haven't posted for 6 weeks. And I've always believed in teaching strategies that are both evidence-based, of course, and experience-based. And what I'm doing is I'm using my children's nutritionist business in order to test out these strategies so that when I am talking and guiding my clients, I'm giving them strategies that do actually work today in this day and age. So what I've come to realize with social media and my love-hate relationship with it is it isn't actually going anywhere. And to stay ahead of these changes is really essential. So I'm looking forward to integrating everything I'm learning about social into my work and helping other people do the same with theirs. And it's something that I do take really quite seriously because I know so many healthcare professionals really struggle on social media. There's a lot of people who tell me that it's so refreshing to hear a business coach say that they don't like social media as well. Often they will post and feel like they're talking to a brick wall. They don't get engagement. They spend far too much time on content that doesn't actually bring in clients. And so staying ahead of these changes and really learning how to use social media strategically allows me to help my clients create content that actually works for them and works now and not what just worked a couple of years ago. Okay, so a third way that I participate in CPD is keeping up to date with knowledge of things happening in my industry. So this goes beyond sort of your formal training courses. I like to stay informed and up to date in my specialist area, like many of us do. And for me, that's online business and digital marketing. So business and marketing trends shift really quickly, particularly in the online space. And so I consume a mixture of podcasts, of business news sites, really to keep up to date with everything. And what I've found is when I compare my speciality in clinical practice, pediatric dietetics, that does not move anywhere near as quickly as the business side of things, and particularly the digital online business side of things. So it's really important for me that I keep up to date. So podcasts, I love podcasts because I can multitask. I can put my earbuds in, take the dog for a walk. I can listen to them in the car when I'm driving back from the train station. I love consuming information via podcasts. And some of my favorite shows at the moment include my original business coach, and she used to be my boss and current mentor, Salome Shellac. She has a podcast called the Launch Lounge Podcast, and it's all about digital marketing and Facebook and Instagram ads. I also like Susie Witt's Inside Out Entrepreneur podcast for mindset stuff, very science-based, but it's all about the mind, and I really like that. I like to listen to Alex Hormozy, who, of course, is the bit of a guru in the online entrepreneurship world. And then there is a place in my heart for Pat Flynn's Smart Passive Income and Amy Porterfield, because these are the guys who I first discovered, first and foremost, back in 2016, 2017. I also follow updates on platforms like HubSpot blog, Social Media Examiner, Sprout Social, and the Harvard Business Review, really just to keep up to date with what's going on in the world of business. And then, since many of my clients are UK registered healthcare professionals, I also like to try and stay aware of any legal changes, any ethical changes, any regulatory changes that might affect their work. So often these are published by the HCPC, or for the wider scope of healthcare professionals, I might look at the Professional Standards Authority site. But staying informed means that I can really help my clients make better business decisions. So whether it's understanding things like how economic trends affect our pricing, or how new regulations impact our marketing when we are a regulated healthcare professional, all of that is really important for me to keep up to date with. So, number 4 is personal development, because I also believe that a great coach should be working on themselves, not just their clients. And that's why I dedicate time every single day to my own personal development. Now, this is a whole podcast episode in itself, but in a nutshell, it includes working on my mindset on a daily basis. Since I've been doing my mindset certification, I've learned a lot about myself, about my subconscious beliefs, things that get in my own way and hold me back from being the very best version of myself. And I know that in order to change and step into that best version of me, I need to take action every single day. And so I bookend my days with mindset morning and evening routines. And this includes various things from journaling, affirmations, and visualization techniques to reinforce my own goals and my direction of travel, and also reflection. So acknowledging what I've learned, what I need to work on tomorrow, as well as celebrating the little wins of the day. And of course, I'm huge on practicing gratitude. Another part of my personal development for me is reading and learning, as I'm always learning. Mindset and social media are my focuses this year. But as well as that, I'm always reading books or listening to audiobooks that complement my learning, or actually something I might need to dive into a bit more deeply to support a client. So at the moment, I've got Carol Dweck's Mindset audiobook on my phone. I've listened to this in the past and I'm listening to this now a second time around, and it's amazing what you didn't hear the first time round. But I also love a business strategy book, and a client asked me recently about Daniel Priestley's scorecard. Now, I read this last year after meeting him at an event, but I'm digging into that again at the moment to refresh my memory. I also love a little bit of woo, and so anything by Gabrielle Bernstein or Jen Sincero provides a really nice bit of light self-improvement type of reading. And I also do a lot of reflection on my personal coaching style, because I want to evaluate where I can improve. So whether that's in my communication, my leadership, my listening skills, what I do is I take notes as I coach, and I also use AI note-taking tools that allow me to reflect back upon client sessions. One of my key learnings has been that I over-deliver, and so I'm trying to coach more than do things for my clients so that they come up with the ideas themselves, which ultimately helps them problem solve and helps them grow so that eventually they can go it alone without my guidance. So this isn't just about professional development. It's about being the best version of myself, which in turn makes me a better mentor and coach. Number 5. So number 5 is all about networking and collaborations, because I really don't believe in working in isolation all of the time. Connecting with other experts is actually a huge part of my CPD. Every single week, I'll meet with others where we can bounce ideas around. So yes, they're usually on Zoom, but I'm okay with that. My family commitments at the moment mean that I need to be close to home. But in addition, I do love a live event. So last year, I attended 2 major business and marketing conferences. I listened to some really inspirational speakers, including the aforementioned Daniel Priestley, Nick James, Danny Wallace, and my mentor, Laurie Burrows. And I'm sure there were others. I just can't recall them just now. And the year before, I flew to LA for a 5-day business retreat. So why do I do this? So for me, it's about surrounding yourself with high-level thinkers, with successful entrepreneurs, with like-minded professionals, but people who are a few steps ahead of you. That is what accelerates my growth. It's in these rooms where you get insights that aren't available in courses or in books. And it's also where you can have conversations, you can build relationships, and they often lead to opportunities. So whether that's a future collaboration, a partnership, meeting your future mentor, or simply just expanding your perspective, I just find that so valuable. And then finally, number 6, I practice what I preach. I have my own business coach because I too am a lifelong learner. I work with her every single day. We chat via WhatsApp. We meet in person every month or so. And in addition, I have mentors for different areas of business who I check in with online probably once a month or so. But I think having mentorship and business-focused supervision is actually really crucial for me. It might not be regulatory like it is in my profession, dietetics, but I'm sure you'll know that even the best expert or coach has got blind spots. And when you work with experienced mentors, I find it keeps me accountable. It helps me really refine my approach, and it ensures that I'm always learning from those ahead of me. So, why does all of this matter? Because in an unregulated industry like business coaching, CPD is what I believe separates trustworthy professionals from people who just decide to set themselves up as business coaches. It's actually deeply ingrained as one of my core values. Ongoing learning isn't a luxury, it's an absolute necessity to me so that I can ensure that I'm delivering real, up-to-date, effective results for my clients. Lifelong learning, it's just part of who I am, not just as a business owner, but as a person as well. The world is evolving, business is evolving, and I believe that we owe it to ourselves and to those who we support to evolve with it. So going back to that question, Sarah, what do you do for CPD? Hopefully now you'll be able to see why I thought it was a brilliant one and probably the most important question any potential client could ask. And whether you go on to work with me or someone else, this is the kind of question that you should be asking your future coach. How do they invest in their own learning? Are they actively improving their skills and themselves? How are they keeping up to date with changes in business and marketing? Do they have a business coach? Because ultimately, the quality of your business coach determines the quality of the results that you're going to get. So my action step for you is, if you're not keeping up to date with business and marketing, find someone who is and who can support you. But before you go all in and work with them, ask them what they do for their own CPD. So join me next time where I'm going to be sharing a story that I've sat on for quite a while actually, because it felt a little bit too raw and a little bit too vulnerable. Anyhow, I've decided now's the time to share it. It's called Why I Said No to a 5-Figure Brand Deal. Join me then. Bye for now. That's it for another week. Thank you so much for joining me as we explore the abundance of strategies to help you recapture that feeling of possibility and excitement as you drive your business forwards and beyond the clinic room. If you found today's episode inspirational, then don't forget to like and subscribe to the show to stay in the loop for more valuable advice that I'm going to be sharing each week. If you want to be the first to hear about new episode releases, news and ways that I can support your business growth, then please don't forget to check out the links in the show notes, and you can also connect with me from there. Don't keep me a secret. I would be delighted if you left a review and shared this podcast with your colleagues. Until next time, bye for now.